Alrighty. Okay. So, welcome back to another tournament session that we decided to talk about. I'm together with Martin today,
Hello.
and this is the fourth round of the latest Prague tournament. I played against one of our fellow Magic friends, Hao. Shoutouts to him.
The Is It King.
Yes, he was the Is It King back in the days.
Ditching blue nowadays because partners are banned.
Yeah. But he will be back to Is It soon, but that's for another day. He's playing Feldon here, and I was running Aragorn. We have practiced this matchup in advance since we arrived on Friday, and we had some time to play some Magic, and yeah, it's one of the better matchups for me because my commander has lifelink, obviously. On the other hand, he was playing a lot against random guys on Cockatrice, and he figured that in order to beat Aragorn or to even stand a chance, he has to include a lot of exotic cards that deal 4 damage or more to get rid of this card as soon as possible. If you check his deck list, you will see stuff, for example, like Psionic Blast, it's called, I guess. It's like a CMC2 spell that needs you to discard an additional card, and then you deal 4 damage to any target.
Sonic Blast, you mean, right?
Sonic Blast? Yeah, what did I say?
Psionic Blast is the blue Char. You would also play that because he's playing Char, but...
No, I thought I said Sonic, but never mind. Yeah, that's the one I mean. That's not the one I'm talking about. You also see that he's playing a lot of those deal 4 damage spells. How's the one called with these split costs with either triple red or 2/2/2 from Eventide or Morningtide?
Flame Javelin.
Flame Javelin, exactly, yeah.
Stuff
like that.
Yeah. Exquisite Firecraft and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, that's especially a very good one because I can't counter it.
Yeah.
It's very easy in Red Deck wins to gain 2 spells in or 2 instant and sorceries
Spell Mastery
in your graveyard. Yes, exactly. So he's well prepared for the matchup, and I know his deck list, or I know most cards, so to say, and this is definitely not an 80-20 matchup. Now you could say, we were talking about it in advance, if we should draw this match, this would have been better for Hao, but this was the 4th round, not the 5th one, so we were both 3-0, and usually he would stand a better chance against most other decks. So we decided to play the game. I was on the play, starting with Swords to Plowshares, exiling his Monastery Mentor.
Swift Spear.
Mentor would be, for 1 mana, would be great. Yes. So I think my starting hand had, like you see here, some Samwise, the new 2 mana Flash Body, which is a very good card, especially in this situation. That's the main reason why I play it. You have a fetch land, a Flash Body, you can return a fetch land, have a land drawn if you so will, and here I even have a blocking body for Feldon.
That's basically like a Barefoot Strix with Flash in this case.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
So that's insane.
And I'm aware that he's playing Blood Moon, of course, as most Red Deck wins players do. That's why I'm fetching on basic lands early on.
I think Hao has been not the biggest fan of Magos in the past. Do you know if he's playing that currently?
No. He's still not running it.
Yeah. So that's usually like the single Blood Moon is something you can kind of play around, but if they have it consistently and also very early usually with like the double moon setup, then it becomes kind of very scary. And even if you, especially in the red cut for 3-color decks, you really have to be careful. But if you expect your opponents to not play Magus, you can get out of it somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's really trying to build a deck in a very efficient way to finish games as fast as possible. Originally, he played Ardos, so this list was coming from an Ardos brew, which was designed differently because in Ardos you run different creatures. Most of them should have haste in order to make use of Ardos trigger. At some point, he decided to switch to Feldon because it was not possible to deal with Aragorn and other decks, especially. There was another one he mentioned. I'm not sure anymore. So here we go. He plays Blood Moon. I have March of Otherworldly. How's it called? March of the Otherworldly, whatever. The white spell from Kamigawa. I have to pitch the Lightning Helix, which is a bit of a bummer, but I also have to get rid of Blood Moon.
And also you're still at 19 HP, so you're in a very good state. And you are at that point with 4 mana, so you can now play your commander.
Yeah.
And now How is usually in the position to either kill it or somehow try to get back the Monarch, but doing both will be very rough.
Yeah.
So you're drawing at least 2 cards.
You will see he has a very, very good line.
Well,
and I cannot interact.
You
with
played
that.
the game, not me. But
Yeah,
this is what I would evaluate. You must feel pretty good in this situation, right?
I did. That's why I played Aragorn. That's absolutely right. Yeah, I kind of felt safe. I would have liked to keep the Lightning Helix, of course, because I get gain back life and I have another interaction for his for the creatures he's about to play. But there is a Force of Rage, which brings 2/3/1 trample haste creatures.
That's not bad.
And even better, he
also
has
a Flame Slash.
Yeah, not as good as a Flame Slash, but he has a Reckless Abandon, making use of one of the tokens. And yeah,
that's pretty good.
There's my Aragorn is gone. He
and
deals 3 damage, and the Monarch as well. And there's no way at that point to get it back that quickly, unfortunately. I have the Unexpectedly Absent in hand, another land, and Spell Snare. So
and the Tear Apart, I think, is the other card.
Tear Apart? No, the Rip Apart, I mean.
Rip Apart, yeah.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
So no other creatures, which you do play quite a lot of. So this is pretty unlikely to have no other buddies.
That's unlucky in this situation. I would have
kind of board state. In every other board set, if you would have just been like trying to control out the game, this would be a very good hand. But yeah,
definitely. So there's the Bomat Courier. He's making more pressure. Bomat Courier is not that much pressure, but still, it's another body that attacks and deals damage. And a Monarch on his side is very well suited for his game plan.
Yeah, definitely.
So he goes on with a Skewer the Critics that I cannot Spell Snare because it's CMC3. Here he forgot to go for the Bomat trigger, and he's also suspending a Rift Bolt. So that's just a matter of time, whether or not I get back the... And here we see it, that's the Psionic Blast that I'm going to counter with the Spell Snare. But he has all the resources to...
Drawing all the cards.
Yes, exactly. So before damage I put it back on top. Yeah. He lost 1 card, it's not that big of a deal. My only out here is to play Aragorn next turn, to be honest.
Yeah, or drawing a very good body.
I decide not to fetch in order to top take another land, and I think I found something else, definitely something that's not a land. So he keeps the Monarch, which is a problem also because now he's in a top deck mode. Oh, he has drawn a card from Monarch last turn, but in this case he would have to shoot Riftbolt and another card on Aragorn in order to get rid of him. And then he could have gotten back Monarch with the Mishra's Factory he has on field, or the Bomat Courier is now playing. And that's a pretty unfortunate situation. I have a Subtlety here to block the Factory. And I think he is going to get rid of the subtlety. No, it's a parasitic pillar. Yes, correct. Yeah.
So you have a way to get back the monarch, which is nice.
I do,
but
and
the pillar is very, very hurtful.
The pillar is a problem indeed. Yeah. His clock is much faster. So now I would like to get rid of his buddy. And I kind of have to in order to keep the monarch. Maybe this was a mistake to not choose the pillar. Maybe I should have just chosen.
This also says enchantment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this might have been a mistake.
Yeah, maybe just get rid of it and then try to find another removal with the monarch draw.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, now
Feldon's coming down.
There's Feldon, and he can pretty much ignore the 2 damage from the pillar. He will draw another card. I have to get rid of Feldon. Now there's even more damage, so I'm down to 1. Yeah, there's a misstep. Okay, late to the party. Would have been better to have it with the Reckless Abandon, but. Yeah, the only out here is to attack and draw a Solitude with the Monarch, and then when he attacks, I could Solitude my own Subtlety, gain back 3 life, block Feldon, gain another 3 life to live longer, and then maybe recast Aragorn, but that's not the case, so I'm just dead. But yeah, even if I would have gotten rid of the pillar, he would still have so much fire in simply because he got the monarch. He drew like 4 or 5 cards off of it, which is quite a good thing for Red Deck wins.
Yeah.
So at that point I was like, okay, the test games were better. I was on the play, did what I can. Lightning Helix would have saved me here and there, maybe if I would have could keep it in hand, would have probably gone a different route, but that's how it was. And I'm like, okay, I'm on the play now, I have to get this one, and then he's on the play, and this might be a bit more tricky, especially if he has a very good 1-drop. Games with Goblin Guides or Zergos or something like this are always very threatening, especially if the 1-drops stick on the battlefield.
Yeah. So yeah, we saw that Blood Moon is still pretty good, even if you did fetch an island, because you just you need all the you need the planes, and you also have quite a few spells that have double colors in them. So,
it's a bit of a it's a pity that I drew Scalding Turn in this situation. I mean, it is what it is. I had Polluted Delta and
also the Aiganju turn 1 was also didn't help.
Exactly. Yeah,
that would have been in planes.
Whenever I played against Red Deck Wins or Yoshi, I was actively searching for basic lands because I didn't want to scoop to a random Blood Moon just because I was too greedy, not going for the basic lands. And yes. There are matchups in which you don't have to go for that, where you can expect people not to play it. Most often, if you're starting with 3, your opponent is starting with 3 colors, unless there's like a very crazy pile. I've seen Magus of the Moon in some Marav piles, for example. Maybe because this deck can allow to play a couple of basic lands. But yeah, so a slow start with Hallowed Fountain, and this is probably the worst mistake, to trade for 2 life for 2 life. This was the new shock that has the Ring Tempts You, and he's putting up a Parasitic Pillar again, and I have a Reprieve, drawing more cards, seeing more lands. Should not
buying some time to maybe mana leak it next time.
Exactly, yes. And I also have Counterspell in hand, and I've drawn Loose Focus. And there we see Ardos. We don't really want to take that. We want to get rid of that for sure.
Yeah.
I decided to take loose focus here because there is not really. I mean, there are situations in which I might want to have one spell this spell with replicate,
but usually you just want the mana efficiency, so mana leak is probably better in the future.
So here I have a Wooded Foothills. There's no upside in getting a mountain, so obviously I go for more colors, and also because I have tons of counter spells in hand, I can deal with Blood Moon at that point
pretty easily.
Exactly. How is down to 6 cards, by the way. At this point he's arguing whether or not my shirt matches my sleeve color.
Did it?
He decided not. I don't know. That doesn't really matter. So here I'm 1 land short. Kind of have to trust in the expressive iteration to find an untapped one, and I do find an Otawara as far as I remember. Yeah, exactly. So that's quite
very
nice.
Good find.
Yeah, I can mana leak his first 2-drop, and then I have a Daze for the second one, which also secures my 5th land drop.
Yep.
So deal with Feldon, and then he thinks he's safe, and there is the Daze.
No pillow for you, guy.
No pillow for you, yes.
Yeah.
And I've even drawn a Steam Vents. So now he's down to 3 cards, I think.
Yep. And the commander costs 4.
Yep. I have a Wandering Emperor in hand, so a shock. If he plays a threat with haste or something, I can just exile it.
And
if
gain
he
life
plays
by that.
something more dangerous, for example, Sulfuric Vortex, I can use my counterspell to get rid of that.
Yep.
And yeah, that's basically the line continues into the next game. I can play my tapped Shockland. His Bolt is pretty much useless at this point. I'm pretty safe with 12 HP.
12 HP is definitely enough. And here the Wandering Emperor is very good. Getting you the life, exiling the commander.
Exactly.
And also now you have a way to make some buddies to maybe get the Monarch back in the future or something like that. So it's also pretty good.
Yeah, and I also have like a 6th land drop with Remand in hand.
Yeah, and also Spell Pierce, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can safely play Aragorn and get the Monarch, make a Samurai token. Having 2 bodies with Vigilant on field is definitely not bad. He has no manland, so if he gets rid of my token, I can either deny that by casting Remand, or he will never go for the trade. Just useless. It would be completely useless to just go in with the Spellbreaker.
Yeah.
Bell Striker, not Spellbreaker. Zergo I was talking about. Yeah, so here I feel kind of safe. I drew Murktide. He was at 2 cards in hand. And that's quite an interesting card how it plays. It was quite annoying when I tested it. It's like a 1/2 for 2. You can play it for Blitz. It has Menace. And when it enters the battlefield, up to 1 target creature gets +1/+0. And so this is basically like a 2 mana shock that draws you a card, which in combination with all the cards he plays that sacrifice creatures in addition to casting costs is quite a nice card, I think. So yeah, I think he drew 1 more land, or just looked at a top card because he would draw this card and then gain a Monarch and draw another land, and at that point he decided to concede because he can't get rid of. Yeah, exactly. I didn't even. I went to 17 and I still have 2 creatures on board he cannot handle, so there is no point in continuing. Yeah, so now it's 1/1. He will start. Okay, let's see.
So now you have to pray for a very good opening hand. With
exactly.
Efficient interaction and maybe some way to gain life or handle some non-creature stuff. So you really need it all now.
Up to this point, it's not not very special. It was like I was playing my plan, he was trying to play his plan. Didn't get through in the second game. As you said, I just have to have an efficient hand, maybe dealing with a 1-drop, and then Feldon as a follow-up, or even a better card, and make my way through until I can cast Aragorn or maybe other threats. So there's a lot of shuffling involved, because I'm having more fun shuffling cards than playing them. as
it is known.
As it is known, Martin might agree to that. At least other people say. And yeah, to say that, just to give a hint in advance, my starting 7 is not very well suited against that matchup. I think I had 5 lands, Wandering Emperor, and a True Nemesis. So basically, I don't do anything during the first 2 turns. Oh no! Or this was the hand with only 1 land. Okay, never mind. This might have been another hand, but this one I obviously have to mulligan.
Yeah.
There was too much risk on not drawing the second or third land. Even I have the Chain Lightning in hand, and I think I had another removal, but that doesn't really matter.
No, you really need a few lands.
And I also, like, in this situation, I would have to fetch for the Rogren Triome. And I'm already on the play. I'm already on the draw, and I want to get rid of the... I maybe want to get rid of the 1-drop he plays with my Chain Lightning in order to reduce the damage. And if I have to fetch for the Triome in order to have all colors, it's even less efficient. So I have to go for a second hand. Mulligan. Taking a mulligan with this deck is usually not too bad. Like, you shouldn't be too... There are decks in the format you don't really want to mulligan that much with. Basically, you never want to do that, but let's say this deck definitely compensates it much better compared to Yoshi Bruce or something.
Yeah.
Whenever you don't have much card advantage in your 99 or in your command zone, it's not...
Especially in this matchup, if your commander always resolve, you at least get 1 card from that. So
Yep.
that's...
okay, and that was... I think that was the second hand. So this was 5 lands, Wandering Emperor, TNN. So I have to go down to 5. And at this point, I thought, okay, mulligan to 5. I'm never going to do this.
Yeah.
This is probably just your game, but I will just try. And that's where the whole game is getting interesting.
Reminds me of a certain final that I might have won, where I went to, I think, to 4 or to 5.
Actually, I was telling how exactly this story after we finished the match. I really did. I said it was when you were in the finals against Lucas Blohon with
Uro.
Aluren against Uro. You had like a mulligan to 4 even, I think. I
think it was 4.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy, and you won the game with the Ether Vial, right?
Yeah, I remember nothing of that game.
Yeah, I
could
gone. I could barely remember that you just stole the game, like, and everyone was like, "Ooh!" But it was crazy.
I was so tired, and the mulligan to 4 just completely blanked me out. But yeah. So let's get back to this game.
Yes.
We're now deciding what cards to put back. Probably some spells, because you kind of need your lands.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's 1 land. Okay. So you have enough of those.
I think I have like 3 lands and 2 spells, something like this.
Okay.
And some early interaction. I don't really remember it anymore. Yeah. So he's on the play. There is a 1-drop. Yeah. Quite a good card, as far as I remember. I have a Mana Tithe to counter his 2-drop. That's not too bad. There's a Murktide I have in hand. Polluted Delta, Stormcarved Coast, and I don't see the rest of the cards. So he's going to fetch, find a mountain, and probably trying to get Feldon on the board.
Yep.
And then I can go for my
Mana Tithe.
Not even sure if I'm going for Tundra or the Plains. I think I even went for the Plains.
So you're very careful.
Yeah, I mean my hand was quite well set up in terms of color distribution, so I can go for that. I think it was the only basic land I searched for, at least to have white enabled when in case he would play Blood Moon.
Yeah.
So second turn was not too impressive, I think. There's even a potential fetch for an island, but I have a cliff top for a second white, and I have the Storm of course for a second blue, so that's not too bad. I'm just not sure what was my CMC 2 spell. I think I have a loose focus in hand, or maybe even nothing. No, it's a Spectral Adversary. Okay, that's what it is. So very, very bad positioned in this situation.
But yeah, how only has like a few chip damage creatures that are not really bursting you for a lot.
No, that's true.
So at the moment you're still in a good position.
And
Kumano
he
is also a pretty slow card.
Yeah, and he also missed a land drop here,
Yeah.
which might be a problem, at least in terms of getting Feldon back on the board,
Yeah,
which
and
now could still pressure me a bit.
He also does play a lot of the 3 mana deal 4 spells, like we said in the beginning.
Yep.
And those are not really castable with 2 mana, so if you have some of those in hand, I haven't looked into it yet.
And here I wished I had a third fetch land, because then I could have fetched, exile the Soulscar Mage with the swords, and then I could have played my Murktide. It would have been like a 5/5 or 6/6 already. Then I would have had 2 blockers, being in quite a good position. But that's not the case. So I have a land, Murktide, and a swords in hand. There's a Volcanic Hammer for my adversary. Now I get to get rid of the Soulscar Mage, which is later even relevant because of Delirium of the Dragon Rage Channeler.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
Yes, usually it's quite easy for him to get all 4 card types into the graveyard, but in this case the exile is relevant. And now I have another land drop next turn, and then can bring down my Murktide, and I have a big blocker against his creatures. The Kumano will flip. The backside is like a 2/2 whenever it's deal damage, non-combat damage. I think the card is exiled on opponent's side, but it has haste. He's taken some time to think about the Surveil trigger here, and I think he decides to let it on top to draw the card later on. Yeah, I'm not feeling too bad with the Murktide in hand, to be honest. Okay, he puts it down. That's the new sorcery speed ring tempts you shock, and that's the perfect top deck. I have 2 mana available, and I can cast my Murktide, putting 2 counters on it. And now I have a fire to get rid of his Kumano creature.
And also quite a fast clock.
Yes, I'm not yet in a position to beat with the Murktide, I'd say.
But yeah, having that option and not being forced to like 100% be forced to connect with your commander can be kind of nice.
Yeah, absolutely right.
So if you just handle the board, that's still leaves you in a good spot, which is
so I know that like a 5/5 dragon is not that hard to deal with, especially because he has that many former damage spells, and if he's going to attack, my plan would be to get rid of the 2/2 creature and then block the RSC, which if he plays an instant spell, he hits a lucky Surveil, or not that lucky, but just has to have a creature on top or something. Then it's a 3/3, and he only needs a shock in order to get rid of the Murktide. But that's still a trait I would like to keep. I would like to go for.
Yeah.
Because then I can just follow up with my commander, and he has to get rid of Aragorn again and get back the Monarch. So as I said, obviously decide to block him, and before damage try to get rid of the 2/2 creature. And I think he has an instant speed, something that deals 4 damage to my Murktide in order to trade with him. And at that spot it would have, of course he's not going to play a Bolt or Shock on that, hoping to find the creature card on top. So he has to use his Flame Javelin to get rid of the dragon. But I'm fine with that because either way the DRC will leave the battlefield.
Yeah.
And I managed to get rid of all the creatures. He has 2 cards left in hand, I think. So I can just play my commander next turn and maybe keep the Monarch or get more life back, which would be great. So that's what I do. I didn't draw a land, I think, but now I did. And yeah, here I feel much better. He played Exquisite Firecraft. That's okay as long as I keep the Monarch. And now I'm starting to stabilize, playing the Ponder, looking for some counter magic or interaction. I see Unholy Heat and Fury on top, which are both good cards that I definitely want to keep. And I also have a Brazen Borrow in hand, which is able to bounce almost all of his cards.
And the Monarch just keeps getting you ahead here.
Yep.
So
Ardos is going to leave the battlefield. He's not that happy about it, obviously. And yeah, now I can again just pass the turn, have the Brazen Borrow in hand. Whatever he plays, he goes in combat, I can bounce it.
Yeah.
And then I can play the Brazen Borrow, have a threat on my field. So there is a Skullcrag end of turn. That's also not too scary with 11 life back. So there is a Feldon, which is about to be bounced back. And now there's like my 6th land drop, I guess. Brazen Borrow can only block flying creatures, so that's an easy combat math. Rip apart, sorcery speed. So I decide to play my Fury without roasting anything. Having the Force Spike back in hand, maybe that will do some magic. And then I also have the Monarch. So he has to waste a Bolt to get rid of the Fury. And then still, and that's what he has. And I have the Force Spike for the Bolt. So now he has to decide whether or not he's attacking into, and that's not what he's doing.
Another removal found, another land played.
Yep.
Now we're just running away with it.
And I have a Rip Apart.
Yep.
He's exiling 3 cards. And
Yep.
he sees a Bolt for my Fury. But I deal 9 damage this turn. I can follow up with Aragorn next turn. I'm not sure what's my last card in hand. I think it's an Unexpectedly Absent I've drawn. Or maybe I draw this now. No, I think it's an Unexpectedly Absent, and maybe I see. Oh, it's a Chain Lightning, okay. Yeah, so he has this card in play. Obviously, he has to take care of the Fury. And I think he's also taking care of Brazen Borrow, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Okay, so at that point, I still have the Monarch. Feeling
And
good.
5 less damage to your face.
Yes, and there's
The
the Parasitic Pillar. That's okay. I can
just put it far away.
Exactly. Not even getting damage from that.
Yeah. X spells are just broken, right?
At least in this case, I've won a lot of games with 4th Erlingers, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which is it's a bit absurd to have such resource in a deck that usually tries to grind out games.
Here the lifelinky boy comes back.
Yes, and now
no double monarch, sadly.
I have a spell pierce. He draws a land, and at
Yeah.
that point, the game is over.
That's what I call a comeback, right?
Yeah, that was a comeback, and I really felt good after that match because okay, now I can definitely order my food and have a pause. That's how I wanted to do too. But yeah. He won the next 2 matches, so he also made it to top 8, top 16, and then top 8, which was great. But that was
5th to 8, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
With another fellow Feldon.
True. And if you compare those 2 lists, they are very, very different from another.
Yeah. The other guy was looking at it now way more creature heavy, and also playing stuff like Grafted War Gear, which is a fun card that used to be played in aristocrat stacks and sometimes in red deck wins. But yeah, having a hasty commander of course makes that card way better. So yeah, very, very interesting game. Shows how even though it kind of feels doomed with the 4/4 lifelink in the command zone, if you kind of adjust your deck, you can make games pretty close.
Absolutely.
But in the end, Jeskai is kind of one of the best color combinations to deal with red deck wins due to white having some lifelink tools. And yeah. So
I was just lucky having a lot of good draws here, a lot of good top decks, and that decided the game in my favor.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting match, and that's why we decided to show you. Also because the stream was not fully available, and that's why we got the content from the organizers now. Shoutouts to them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Trying to get the games out there, get people watching, show them how the format is played.
Right. Okay. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
And see you next time.
And see you. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.